when you are working in AutoCAD 2D, we've been working in the model mode. And what you're going to find out is as you progress, a lot of people will only work in the layout mode. And think of the layout mode as a piece of paper. And I'm not going to go through it here, but you can change the size of the paper. We are just defaulting to the 8.5 by 11. So that's going to be fine for now, since that's what we're going to be uploading. But you'll see that there's a model and a layout. And it usually comes with what's called a viewport. And so let me just put a viewport in here. And I had eliminated it. So a viewport looks something like that, right? And so it's got this line here. The model is in there. You can use that, or you can use your own one. So what we're doing here first is we're going to make a template that we can bring in. And so in our layers, if you haven't done so already, you want to have a title block, right? And so the title block, if you're working for a company or you're working for yourself, you're not going to be typing your name in the model portion. You're going to be creating your own title block. So I want to do two things. I want to show you how to create a title block, and then I want to show you how to export it and import it in. So you can just use a generic one here. So if I was creating a new document, I would go new document here, and I go to the layout on the right here. And so this is the viewport I was talking about. But I'm going to go ahead and create the layout. And so now I don't have these layers, so I'm kind of at a disadvantage. And so that's why I like to use an existing file, because I would then have to create this all over again, right? So what I do in my demo is I typically start this and I delete the file. So I'd go ahead here. I'd want to have myself in the title block. I'd make this my active. And so when you make the lines, what we were working for is essentially the reason why I have these dots is when you plot or print, very rarely do your printers go to the very edge. So I would go ahead here and make a rectangle, and I would type 0, 0, and then I would type in, or I could just click it here. It's going to be 8 on the X. It's going to be, excuse me, 10.5 and comma, and then on the Y, it's going to be 8 inches, right? And so there it is. And then I created, essentially, I went 0, 0, and then I did the same thing here. And this is kind of the template that you followed. So the X was 10.5. I'm not going to do the whole thing right now. And then the Y we said was, there was 0.25. And then what you could do is just take it, Control C, Control V, paste it on there. And then you could make some lines, right? So you're going to have to make these lines. I think you had to do like 6 or 8 boxes. The measurements are there. I'm not that concerned how accurate those boxes are. What I'm more concerned about is that you can fit your name, the scale, and there's some windows that go in there, right? So, so you've got, let's just say your template's done. And then what you would do is in here, you would do your lettering. I would make this my active layer, and I would type in something, right? So I type in name. And so generally these are very helpful, because if you are, sometimes you need these to get signed off on, right? So let me give you an example. So I'll type, I'll go here. Let's just say this is, I forget which one it is, but we'll say name. Typically on drawings, you have people sign it off. And let me tell you why. I used to run a firm, and I remember we had some weird jobs on the side. We were doing work for the VA hospitals, and I did all the CAD work, and it was a very big job, and it was a big reception desk. And what happened was we installed it. It was like I want to say it was like a $50,000 job. And the designer, who was not us, it was through the organization, it was too tall and the patients couldn't access. And so because I had the CAD drawings and made them sign off on it, they couldn't come at me and say, oh, you did this wrong, right? So these kind of drawings are, if you ever go to a job site, they're everywhere. They're either digital or they're printed out, but it's very important that there's documentation. Okay, so I have this. If this is my template that I'm about to make here, I don't want all this. So just for the sake of this, I'm going to eliminate it. I've got my layout. And so what I'm going to do then is I'm going to right click on here, and I'm going to make sure, and I'm going to go up, excuse me, I'm going to go say file. save as. And so let's save this as a template. So I'm going to go save this as a template. It's going to default to the template within AutoCAD. That's fine. If you're going to do that, you might want to label it. So my template right there. So it's going to default in there. That's fine. And I save it. All right. And so you could put description on it, whatever you got to do. That's how you do that in there. So let's say now that I'm in an actual drawing. All right. So let's get into a drawing. So let's get, what I'll do is I'm going to just kind of cheat here. So let's open. So let's go to a new drawing, file new, and I've got a new CAD drawing going on. So here it is. These layouts are already here. I've got a model and I've just worked on a project and I need to, I want to print this out. It's a couple things I want to do with it. So what I do is I go over to my layout, right? And you're going to right click on here and say from template. And so this is, because it's in that default, you go ahead and bring in your template. I'll say open. It's going to ask you which one. I want the title block because that's what I saved. And there it is. And I'll go here. And so there it is. So this is how you're going to be working on from here. So now what I might need to do is I might need to center this drawing. And so there's paper and there's model mode. We want to be in the paper mode when we're typing in here. So, so what you want to do is, if you look on the bottom, you can actually change the scale of all your drawings. So right now it's at whatever scale. This is where you change the scale. And this is where you type in the scale. So scale is going to be something, we talked about this last time. When you do an architecture building, you can't do it in CAD one-to-one, print it, because it would be, the size of the building. So you have to scale it down. So there are different standards, but that's essentially what what you use templates for. And so, another way of doing it is you just keep opening the same file and deleting your CAD one. That's one way of doing it. But all in all, that is essentially what you want to do with the template. It's not that much more complicated. I know I made it seem like a lot more complicated last time. There are something in here because it automatically has a viewport. What I was saying with the viewport is you could actually put different drawings in there. You can put a front view, top view in one drawing. But for this application, it's really not all that necessary. So you can toggle back and forth in your template. So that's all I really wanted to do with you today. And I don't want to get too far ahead, but it's going to be really important from moving forward, that all your submissions are in your template. All right. So whenever you submit a drawing to me, you're going to print it out from here. So you would have a drawing and you would do the exact same thing, Control P, single sheet, and then you would do what we've been doing all along. So from now on, you want to build this template and such. And so I use the window, and I know there's some questions. I'm going to stop the recording, but this is essentially how you would do it. And right, so that's kind of the process. All right, so I'm going to stop the recording.